Will Tennessee welcome Oklahoma into the SEC? Does Mississippi State get Billy Napier fired? Will Ole Miss ever play someone that isn't a high school team? Time to get the SEC squad together.
You're talking ball with the SEC squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up. You're part of the SEC squad.
Oh, yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome into our SEC squad edition, getting you set for week 4 in the SEC. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 to get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Welcome into the SEC squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage. Join us as we get you ready for another wild week across the SEC. And let's welcome in our panelists this week. We got Stephen Willis, host of Locked On Ole Miss. John Miller, host of Locked On Mizzou. Jonathan Davis, host of Locked On Longhorns. Luke Robinson, Locked On Bama. Eric Kane, Locked On Vols. And Chris Marler, Locked On Gamecocks. And fellas, I look around, I see a lot of top 10 teams in the country right now. Marler, South Carolina gave it a valiant effort. They, the refs have been a little bit.
Hold on, Gordy. I think they just got flagged for me being here on the show. Just right now, right? There was another flag, another kick six, or pick six has been overturned because of me just being on the show.
Yeah, it was a tough go, but look, South Carolina, I think they're still good, and they're going to upset somebody they're not supposed to beat this season. But guys, let's jump into it. Let's open it up. I'm going to jump to each of you. Just make a prediction about your team this week. Doesn't have to be about the game necessarily or the score, but just give me a prediction for your team. Steven, let's start with Ole Miss.
The prediction is Henry Parrish is probably going to go off. Georgia Southern played against Boise State and gave up 260 yards to Genty. The backup running back had 112 yards running in that game. They gave up nearly 400 yards for the day. Henry Parrish is going to go off. Matt Jones is going to go off. And Ole Miss has outscored their opponents this year, 168-9? That's going to go up.
Jaquindon Jackson and Dylan Sampson kind of battling it out for leading rusher in the SEC. Henry Parrish right behind them, not far back. John Miller, give me a prediction for Mizzou.
Well, last season, Brady Cook against Vanderbilt had probably his best game of the season. Missouri's been just a little bit off on their deep passing so far. I think this is the week it finally clicks and the Tigers get some deep shots to come through against the Commodores.
Yeah, that Luther Burden guy, pretty damn good last week, 100 yards. Jonathan Davis, how about a prediction for the Longhorns? And is it about Arch Manning? Please say it's about Arch Manning.
It is about Arch Manning. Come on now. I've been doing this for 2 years. I know, I don't want to bury the lead, but, when you look at it, ULM, obviously Louisiana Monroe, the opponent doesn't bring a lot of excitement, but everybody's going to be watching America's favorite quarterback, Arch Manning, and what likely will be his first start with Quinn Ewers dealing with that oblique strain. I'm going to say Arch Manning goes off another 5+ touchdowns, 300+ yards. And the biggest story in college football next week is the quarterback controversy at the University of Texas.
Yeah, when you said America's favorite quarterback, I thought you meant on ULM side, General Booty. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the best name in college sports for sure.
A Manning versus a Booty, it doesn't get any better than that. Luke Robinson, give me a prediction for Alabama.
Didn't a Manning already face off against a Booty back at Tennessee, and it caused a bunch of problems? Well, my predictions are that I'm going to eat 100% fewer cheese curds than I did last week. That was a lot. In Wisconsin, they have that for breakfast. But kudos to them. I love seeing the atmosphere, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm just going to take a break this week and just try and absorb some of these other SEC games for a while. Yeah,
the Wisconsin Badger fans or players, they look like they ate a bunch of cheese curds. They were so slow out there. The slow 10 up there, Alabama making a rough shot at them. Eric Kane, give me a prediction for the Vols this week.
Well, first of all, hat tip to you, Luke. That was a pretty good one. Job well done there. All eyes college football is going to be on Tennessee and Oklahoma. Biggest game in the country. I know Michigan's playing Southern Cal, but Michigan's not very good in my opinion. So Dylan Sampson, I don't want to say jumping in the Heisman conversation because I think that's a bit steep, but I think a lot more people nationally are going to be talking about not just Nico Iamaleava, but Dylan Sampson, the running back from Tennessee, Chris, that you just referenced moments ago.
Yeah, it's a good angle there because everybody was talking Nico in the Heisman, and it might just be the running back there. Marler, the South Carolina Gamecocks, a bounce back spot here, 4-touchdown favorite against Akron. But will Lenora Sellers play? Will it be Robbie Ashford? Just whatever it is, get a win.
First and foremost, I mean, Eric's right about the all eyes being on Tennessee and Oklahoma, even though they announced earlier today that Michigan's going to start Orgy. So it'll be the first time in a while all eyes will not be on Orgy. Instead, they will be going to
start what now?
That being said, listen, here's the thing. Lenora Sellers, they said today, everyone assumed he's not playing. Everyone with a brain assumed he's not playing. Shane Beamer comes out today and says, you know what? He's going to play. He's going to be full go. Like, everything should be fine. And there's this team at Akron presents problems. That better have been coach speak, because this is one of the worst teams in the country. They have not won more than 2 games in a season since 2018, and that's when they won 4. So it better be coach speak. They better cover the spread, not just for my gambling, because they need to save some face after last week. I just got flagged again, by the way.
Yeah, we've talked a lot of already on the show. We've hit on an orgy, a booty, and who knows where this show is going to go. But it's interesting, guys, and Luke's right. I completely brain fart slip that Alabama's got a bye week, Georgia's got a bye week, got teams already on a bye week who just started the freaking season, but thus the new longer schedule and what it brings. Guys, just looking around the league right now, some big picture stuff I just wanted to touch on, but raise your hand if you're shocked Billy Napier is still employed at Florida right now. Yeah, about half the group. Pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know. Do things continue to get worse here for Florida? I don't know how they get better.
I think if Billy Napier gets a win against Mississippi State, which if you looked at them last week against Toledo, that is very possible. This is a bad football. Like Vandy might put 40 on Mississippi State this year.
No, I'm with you, Steven. It's gonna get ugly here. And look, they're already betting odds on who Georgia's or Florida's next head coach is gonna be. Like, the guy's not even fired yet, but
Congrats, Steven.
It's all out there already. And
Congrats,
of course,
buddy.
It's Lane Kiffin's name getting thrown out there again, Steven. Go figure.
Lane Kiffin is not going to Florida. He's just not.
And Eli Drinkwitz isn't either, but I'll take all those hits I can get.
Yeah,
just like Steven. Give me all the page views. Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you guys are about to make money regardless of what happens. So
there was very randomly a Florida fan in Wisconsin for no reason that went to the game. Like, he kept sort of in a ghostly fashion following us around. We kept seeing him. He had all this Florida stuff on. And he's, said, I do know a couple of folks that know a couple of folks. Everybody says it, right? He is 100% convinced Lane Kiffin right now would go to Florida and will go to Florida. So, I'm just telling you, I know what you're saying, and you may be right. And I think it's a very good question. Is the Florida job better than Ole Miss right now? Historically, certainly yes. Right now, I don't know.
I think the main thing with Florida that no one seems to be talking about, which is Napier, if he needs to go, he needs to go. But if he goes, you clean house completely, because there's no chance in hell they can have Scott Strickland be in charge of another hire with how bad he's been the last several years. Because I think he's made 6 total hires in the athletic department. And you talk about all the different sports, only one has a winning record against SEC teams, and it's the basketball coach. 2 of them already been fired for, I think it was abuse, has been said on Twitter. I didn't read too much into it, but of course it's Twitter, so it's real. But like, you cannot let Scott Strickland make another hire and have him be in charge of it, because it's so bad.
And let's be real about something on this. Everybody talks about how great of a job Florida is and how much money they have and all of this stuff. Where has this money been? This is their third straight coach that's going to go 3 and out. They're Jaden Rashada to where you made promises and could not pay the bills. Where is all this money? I mean, I just don't see it. And Lane Kiffin right now is a great point.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because people, I think, assume Florida with the resources, and by resources, you mean the high schools in that area, the talent that's so close. But now with NIL, it doesn't matter. I mean, USC just went into Florida and got Ty Jackson out of nowhere. He wasn't even really considering them, goes on a visit. The next thing you know, he comes out and goes, boy, I love me some Southern Cal. And that sort of came out of meaning, the NIL is going to play such a big deal in here. It's going to really affect the location lure that it used to be for somebody in Florida. So I think you're absolutely right there. And that's why I'm saying it is a legit question if Florida is still a better job than Ole Miss at the moment.
And the thing is, the question is not really is Florida or Ole Miss a better job. The question is it a good career move for Lane Kiffin to move Ole Miss, where he's already got it rolling, he controls everything, to then go to Florida? Well, he'll be on the hot seat within 18 weeks or something.
Yeah,
How is that a smart career move?
He goes 8-4 at Ole Miss next year. They'll go, man, it sucks, but all right, we'll get him next time. He does that in Florida. It's gonna be like, come on, man. We thought you were going to come win titles here. So certainly going to be interesting to see. All right, guys, we got plenty more to discuss. We're going to get into some of the games. Let's dive deeper into Tennessee and Oklahoma. Can Florida beat Mississippi State? The SEC squad talking more ball next. Back to the squad here in just a second, but we'll remind you guys, today's episode is presented to you by our friends over at FanDuel. And look, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. They are America's #1 sports book, and got a little something different going for you right now. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And then, of course, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just got to go visit FanDuel.com. Take advantage of that great offer. Again, bet $5, get a 3-week free trial of that NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And, of course, take advantage of some of the great betting lines they got up there. They got all the biggest SEC games each and every week. If you like Florida to cover the 6 on the road at Mississippi State, they got that right now. If you like Auburn minus the 3 at home against Arkansas, you can make that bet as well. It's all up there right now at FanDuel.com. Of course, download the app and take advantage of FanDuel. They are America's #1 sports book. This episode also presented to you by our friends over at Roy. And if you have not heard about Roy yet, it stands for Return on You. And it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. And by supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, keep your favorite players out of the transfer portal. And as you know, NIL has changed the game for athletes. Roy is changing the NIL game for fans. No risk contributions. Fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan support. If not, the money will be returned to the fan. And by using Roy, fans not only support athletes financially, but also become part of their name, image, and likeness journey. Go download Roy for iOS or Android, enter referral code LOCKEDON, and you will automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. SEC squad rolling along here, guys. Let's get into previewing some of the matchups this weekend. Let's start with the big one where everybody, the focus of the country is on. College game day, heading to Norman for the first time in quite a while. And it'll be the Tennessee Vols up there. And we all know Josh Heupel, of course, had great success as a player at Oklahoma. Very revered there. He's been trying to downplay it. This ain't about me. It's about the team and all this kind of stuff. But Eric, start with your Vols. They seem pretty focused and a team on a mission so far.
Yeah, I think so. Tennessee's looked really good the first couple weeks, and NC State turns out wasn't really much of a challenge, and we'll see if they turn into anything offensively. But right now, it's not a very good football team. So Tennessee's played 3 pretty bad football teams, and this is obviously going to be a huge challenge. Having said all that, I mean, the defense has still been much better than I thought it would be. Defensive line continues to look like one of the best groups in the country. Explosive plays are back offensively. And Tennessee's run game, as I mentioned a moment ago, has been second to none. So, playing with a lot of confidence right now. Should be playing with a lot of confidence. And you look at Oklahoma and some of the struggles and certainly the injuries the Sooners have been dealing with on the offense side of the football. It's easy to see why Tennessee's kind of a trending pick here this week. But got to go on the road, got to control the elements, and that's something that Tennessee has not done well in recent years. Georgia 22, South Carolina 22, Florida last year, Missouri last year. It's going to be up to Nico and this staff to kind of change that narrative and a big test here in the early going.
Anybody think Oklahoma, we see their best shot? This defense has played well. Just the offense has not been great. But do we see a motivated bunch? Do we see Oklahoma come out? Keep in mind, they haven't had their full complement of receivers and offensive line since Nick's coming back this week. So we'll see.
No, I don't. No, I don't. And I know, of course, I'm the Texas fan, so it's Of course, he doesn't see Oklahoma, but just when you look at this offense, I mean, they really haven't played anybody, and they've just struggled mightily. Like Jackson Arnold's still yet to throw for over 200 yards this season. Only one wide receiver over 100 yards. No running back over 150 yards.
No run game at all. Jackson Arnold
exactly
is the only runner. Yeah.
Exactly, completely replacing that offensive line. And when you look at it, their defense has been good, but it hasn't necessarily been elite, right? They, Houston was in the game the entire time. Donovan Smith threw for 260 yards. They gave up 19 points to Tulane, where I think Tennessee has only given up 13 points on the entire season, right? So I think both defenses will play well in this game, but who do I trust more, Tennessee's offense against Oklahoma's defense or Oklahoma's offense against Tennessee's defense, where Oklahoma's offense has not looked good at all at any point throughout this season? Tennessee is favored by a touchdown. I think they win by a touchdown or more, even on the road in Norman.
I think this could be a trap
in the country right now. Like I don't like. I hate to say it, Eric. Especially now that I know that you're like 12 years old and missed the entire 90s, which was the worst time to ever be opposed to a Tennessee team.
Yeah,
they were incredible then. But I hate to say it, but you watch this team, and sure, Josh Heupel's a bit of a jerk for onside kicking up 30 points against whoever, or not Toledo, but whoever Kent State from a week ago. But you look at how they're operating. Like Nico was the lowest rated quarterback in the conference last week on like PFF quarterback grades, which, take that with a grain of salt if you want. And they were still up like 65-0 at the half. Like Oklahoma's been bad offensively. I don't think this one's close.
I think this game could be a Brent Venables wheelhouse type game. He's going to muck it up. He's going to play slow. He's going to play defense and try and win a 17-14 game. I think that is his wheelhouse and that is his way forward. I just don't know that Oklahoma can do it because Tennessee's offense is just ridiculous right now.
Well, and you can muck it up a little bit, but you've got to be able to score a lot of points. And again, I'm not sure Oklahoma can do that. I think P. Diddy will win Humanitarian of the Year before Oklahoma beats Tennessee this weekend.
You know what? This national game of the week, quite possibly, this is actually my pick of the week. As long as you can get it less than a touchdown, I will give the 6.5 with Tennessee.
Wow. Well,
the road numbers are kind of scary from what Eric brought up. I will say that.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit like Michigan against Texas, where I think they were getting a lot of credit for their name and last season. I think that's a little bit what's happening with Oklahoma right now.
Well, let me paint a picture though for you. All the talk of Heupel coming back and the beloved quarterback. What if Nico has his first terrible game of the year? What if he throws 2 interceptions, a pick 6? Like that's honestly what Oklahoma's going to need. You got Danny Stutzman, you got Billy Bowman, you got some great defensive players. They're going to need, kind of what I'm looking at the NFL a week ago, what the Bears did to Will Levis. Like, you're going to need a special teams touchdown. You're going to need a pick 6. Like, but it's not crazy to think. But no. I don't know. I think that crowd's going to be hyped. I mean, the Big 12 is already sending messages to Oklahoma. Don't mess this up, guys. You left us for that. Don't lose your first SEC game.
Well, I think the run game for Tennessee and Dylan Sampson is so important in this game. Like, all eyes are going to be on Nico. This is truly Nico's. I mean, yeah, he started in the Citrus Bowl last year against an Iowa defense that was pretty good. That was a big time test, and he passed. This year, I mean, NC State, sure, but I mean, this is his first huge test, right? Going on the road, hostile environment, something he's never done. All eyes, are going to be on him. Dylan Sampson's ability to run the football behind that veteran offensive line. Tennessee has averaged 200 yards on the ground a game since Josh Heupel's been here. Take some pressure off Nico, and he doesn't have to hit a deep ball to get settled in or something. You can rely on that run game and then just kind of go and play your ball. And I know, Brent Venables is going to try to muck it up and slow things down. But if Tennessee can run the ball, and rely on that run game all week, all game long, I don't think that matters, because I think the play action and RPO is going to come off that run game. It's just going to be really good for Tennessee.
The way
a 60-minute football game, I want to say, like, it's a 60-minute football game, and Brent Venables could muck it up early, right? It could be a close game early, going into the half. But this Oklahoma offense, you're not going to convince me that after 3 straight weeks of struggling, they take such a big step up in competition and then magically just put it all together. You know what I mean? Like, they're just not going to be able to outscore this Tennessee offense in a 60-minute football game. They keep it close going into halftime, but Tennessee eventually pulls away. Like I said, like John Miller said, I love Tennessee by 6.5, a touchdown, whatever. I'm not going to say it's not close, like Marler said, but I do think Tennessee goes in there and wins fairly convincingly.
I think the way the clock is now, I know at the Alabama-Wisconsin game, we looked up and there was like a minute left in the first quarter, and we're like, what in the world? I mean, this, some teams can make it where the clock just disappears on you. And I think Oklahoma will try to do that. I think they really will. And I think they may be successful for a little bit. But what's going to happen is a lot like what happened in the Wisconsin game, where eventually somebody's going to get loose. It's going to be a big play, and you're going to be 2 scores down. And you're like, okay, now we can't do this clock thing anymore. We got to come back. And that's when you get into a trap and it starts rolling downhill.
Yeah, and one thing, Oklahoma, we've told them for 2 years that y'all better handle the offensive line before y'all come into the SEC. Not handling the offensive line and going against Tennessee's defensive line, that is a bold strategy, and we'll see if it pays off.
You're exactly right. Again, starting center, high ankle sprain. He's been out since week 1. Will he come back? I don't know. Left guard's out for the year. Right tackle, probably doubtful. Like, you're already replacing 5 starters from a year ago. 3 guys have had extensive injuries already 3 games in. And then you're going up against a defensive line. You guys have heard me say it every week. I mean, they literally go 14 deep across the front. It's not fair. I think that's going to be just a huge point in this game.
I don't feel sorry for him at all. And John Miller, I think, will back me up on this. But when Missouri came into this league in 2012, they lost all 5 starting offensive linemen before the start of the season, including their 6th guy. You had coaches going around on golf carts on campus looking for bodies to put into practice. And then they go what, 5-7? Everyone, you got Georgia and Aaron Murray and them holding up signs saying grown man football and stuff like that after you beat him. Like, I don't feel sorry for Oklahoma whatsoever. You had before, when Spencer Rattler was at Oklahoma, when he transferred to South Carolina, they had 11 4-star offensive linemen or higher coming out of high school. They had 11 players that were ranked 4-star or higher coming out of high school. And now it's just all gone. Like you knew what you had to prepare for. This wasn't like a pop quiz that you woke up on August 31st and just woke up to. Like, you knew exactly what you were walking into. Your fans definitely did, because they talked about it all offseason. So welcome to the party, man.
Yeah. Texas took it seriously. Yeah. They took it seriously.
I hate it.
Well, the only worse name for an offensive lineman than Branson Hickman is probably Wilkin Formby. But let's get to it. Coming up next, guys, which team wins between Auburn and Arkansas? Anyone on upset alert? The SEC squad. Talking more ball next. Back to the squad here in just a second, but first, today's episode brought to you by Game Time. The new Game Time app has a feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks, it's going to filter out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And what's great about the Game Time app, with the Game Time Picks option, curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever it is. I love the all-in pricing feature. You toggle that feature on. It shows your total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. That's the price you're going to pay. Seat views. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know what to expect before you even get to the stadium. Lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Go download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Final segment with our SEC squad, and we welcome in Brandon Olson. He wanted to get in here because we hadn't talked about Florida, Mississippi State yet. So, Brandon, I'll give you the floor for just a second. As Billy Napier, the redemption tour begins this week with a win at Mississippi State, right?
I hope so, but I will say this. I called this last week. I said, Toledo, the school that I went to, is going to beat Mississippi State, and Florida, the school that I cover, just might lose, and that would be the most painful possible outcome. It's tough in Gainesville right now. Morale is not high. We'll say that right now. At least in the fan base, morale is not high.
Are you surprised he wasn't fired Sunday, for real?
Honestly, yes. I was told by some people that there was a general feeling prior to that game that the next loss would be his last.
I mean, I cover Tennessee. I'm not pretending to be an insider for Gainesville, for Florida right now, but I was told Tuesday of that week, like, hey, if it gets ugly this week against A&M, like Sunday, there's a real chance he could be fired. And then when they called that meeting Sunday morning, I'm like, I mean, it's happening, right?
Well, I was kind of surprised. I mean, 13-point loss. Let's see how low we can go. Well, you can't know how to dig yourself out of rock bottom until you truly hit rock bottom. And I need, what was the quote he said? Scared money don't make money. Let's keep gambling on Billy. I love
He's
it.
never allowed to say that for as long as he lives, but
Ever.
Brandon, I got a question for you. I'm kind of leaning toward Mississippi State this week, just on a, kind of going against the grain a little bit. I know they were terrible last week. I get it. You've got the Toledo insight. You've got the Florida insight. One question I have, do you think Florida will play hard for Billy Napier this week?
Ooh.
I hope so, man.
Oh, see that now?
He's dead inside. Oh my God, he's dead inside.
Was that a good question?
Jonathan, you don't get this. I'm a Gators fan and a Giants fan. I am God's toughest soldier out here.
You also like the Washington Generals?
Yeah, no kidding.
There were many
There's
weeks
probably
in
somebody out there that's
Tennessee Vols
a
and
Gators
Tennessee
fan, a
Titans,
Panthers fan, so they probably have it a little bit worse than you. You know what I mean? With it being so close, but you're close, brother. You're close.
You know what this
You're falling
reminds
off
me
the
of?
cliff. You're edging towards it.
This reminds me of, I've seen it several times, but the latest version is when Auburn had Brian Harsin, and like all the fans I know, I live kind of near Auburn, and all the fans were talking, about the new coach. And it was almost like they would show up on Saturday and go, wait a minute, we hadn't fired him yet? It's like, that's the way it is with Billy Napier. It's like fans keep going to see him like, okay, let's talk about the new coach. Oh my God, he's still here. How'd that happen?
Real quick show of hands. Are we all taking Florida to beat Mississippi State?
Yeah.
I am scared. Scared money doesn't make
straight up,
money.
yes. I'll take the 6
beat
points.
Mississippi
Though.
State
I'll take
this
the 6
week.
points. I will. I'll take the 6 points with
All
Mississippi
right,
State.
John Miller. I see you. We got to get to this other game real quick because this is a big one. It is Arkansas at Auburn, and man, Arkansas. The offense looks great. Bobby Petrino and Taylon Green, Jaquindon Jackson, all that's looking great. Andrew Armstrong. Auburn, they make the quarterback switch. It looked great. Hank Brown, but it was New Mexico. 4 touchdown passes. But we know how bad Peyton Thorne was 2 weeks ago. How do we feel about Auburn? They're at home, 3-point favorite. This is a big game for them.
I'd actually like to point out that the first episode of the SEC squad, Zach and I got into about a Graham Mertz and Peyton Thorne, and lo and behold, they both suck. Who would have thought? I'm taking Auburn in that one. I'm riding with Hank Brown, friend of Locked On Auburn, until he gives me a reason not to.
I don't know who to pick in that game. I would think Auburn because they're at home, but I tell you what, the lock of the week for me, and I haven't even seen the number, is the over in this game. It, like whatever that is, I feel like you hammer it because this is the drunkest game every single year in the SEC. It is Maction on a Saturday in the SEC. It's just Maction with a Southern drawl, and I cannot wait.
This is the drunkest Arkansas team I've ever seen, by the way. They're super high variance.
But isn't Arkansas A&M drunker usually?
That's also fair. Yeah.
But
I think Arkansas has a drinking problem.
that is true. You know what? I think Auburn will win because that's the way I always think, and it only makes me feel better when they lose. But I think Auburn will win. That said, boy, what kind of story would it be if Petrino rolled in there as an assistant again this time and was able to pull off a victory? And look, Hank Brown looked really good. His passes look really crisp. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to say that. He dropped something in there on a dime occasionally, but that is a pretty bad defense he was playing against last week. And Arkansas has gone to Oklahoma State, and they fared pretty well except for about the last 10 minutes.
I was going to say, it feels like it, and that's the game I watch. So, I'm not trying to act like an expert on Arkansas, but feels like they have more playmakers, they have more explosion than that of Auburn. If they don't try to just say, "Hey, football, here, go win go Oklahoma State, go win the football game." Like they tried so hard to lose that game to Arkansas. As long as you don't beat yourself like that, it feels like they got a pretty good chance to score some points.
Yeah, my only analysis for this game is former Texas quarterback Jaquindon Jackson turned Utah running back turned Arkansas running back, right? Gotta love college football. Goes off in this game, and Arkansas gets a big win for them, I guess, against Auburn. So that's my only analysis. Arkansas gets the win.
And the question is,
good too, because that's a bad offensive line for Auburn as well.
He's been a little slow to get going too.
Mm-hmm.
and Hank Brown, he might come back to the last week might have been a mirage.
That's what I'm worried about for Auburn. They bought into the Hank Brown after Peyton Thorne was terrible, and this feels like it's setting up for Hank Brown to be awful, and Peyton Thorne comes in with his Superman cape to go, "I'm here to save the freaking day," and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh,
this
no.
isn't going to be Tua and Jalen, y'all. I don't think it can be like that.
Hank Brown for Heisman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hank instead of Lank. That's my favorite thing.
Why didn't Auburn go get a quarterback this offseason?
I need Peyton Thorne to save the game against Arkansas more than I need.
Yes.
That's what I need at this point.
Yeah,
No. You need Peyton Thorne to come in and almost save the game. That's what'll really get them talking. Like almost do it. That's what'll be the best.
Oh, man, we're creating a lot of scenarios here. But, guys, as we wrap up here, I was going to ask who's on upset alert. There's not really – everybody else is kind of playing junk. I mean, LSU maybe gets
Texas.
LA, but, like, do you really think General Booty is going to outplay Arch?
You don't mess around in your first year with a new head coach or the first year in a new conference with Louisiana Monroe. That's a world beater of a team at times.
True.
And people don't forget. So that's all I'm saying, Jonathan. Don't count your chickens for they hatch, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, I think the only question about this game is if Texas covers the 44.5 point spread. But I appreciate Chris Marlowe. You know what I'm saying? You know, they say the best thing about podcast hosts is being able to invoke emotion. You know, so maybe he pissed off 2 or 3 Texas fans still watching this late into the show.
I'm going to give you guys a few sneaky ones real quick. I think Vandy keeps it close with Mizzou for a while.
Oh,
John
my
Miller.
God. Are you on this like every week with Gordy? He's just every week he picks us. Oh, go ahead. Do your bit.
I think
Go ahead.
Bowling Green keeps it close at A&M. Bowling Green, I watched a couple. I think their offense can stay close.
By the way, I like Marcel Reed. I think Marcel,
he's good.
there. Yeah.
It's a good athlete.
No, he's not. He just no.
Okay, Brandon.
He's not good just because he's been at Florida now.
You know, he's not. He just played Florida. That's all he did. That's it.
Tennessee boy. Yeah.
The other one I was going to throw out, Ohio, I think keeps it close with Kentucky. You're coming off that emotional, tough 1-point loss to Georgia. Everybody's like, hey, you're not as bad as we thought you were. Come out with a clunker and stick
That
up.
makes more sense.
Does Mark Stoops know that he doesn't have to punt?
Hey,
Yeah,
Chris.
I can't wait for him to punt or to go
Settle for a 4th-and-1 field goal.
Hey, Chris, how did the officiating crew get from Columbia to Lexington so fast? They were so mad in both places.
I'm pretty sure Brian Kelly had a PJ. They just flew on immediately because that was, just gift wrap. I got Gordy Tech after that game telling me that Shane Beamer blew it. And I was like, buddy, that is just on a silver platter.
17-point lead. Everybody blows 17-point leads, right? Come on. Shane Beamer, he did everything right.
Gordy, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you want to host Locked On Mac? Bowling Green's going to keep it close. Ohio's going to keep it close. What is it?
Think of the page views.
Look, man, there's been an upset.
Chaos.
There's been an upset in the conference every week so far. Somebody's losing this weekend. That's not supposed to.
Also, I'd like to let him know Billy Napier has not blown a
Most of
17-point lead. He doesn't get any.
It's going to happen. That's going to do it, guys, as we wrap up here for another edition of the SEC Squad. Appreciate you guys jumping in. We'll do this again next week as the competition gets tougher. We get more SEC on SEC action, and that means the trash talk ramps up. So, hey, guys, reminder to follow and subscribe to your favorite SEC show. We'll be covering your favorite teams every day throughout the season. And don't forget, I got you covered with the entire conference every day with Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day.